It's Owen, and in today's video, I am going to show you the 5 things that are keeping you stuck under 5k per month. And I know there are so many coaches who are capable of 10, 15, 20k months, but they find themselves stuck under 5k a month, and sometimes they stay there for years and years and years. And I know because I've coached these coaches and I've helped them break past that 5k per month plateau. I'm going to show you exactly how I have done that. We're going to run through these 3 points, then I'm going to flip the board and we're going to look at the back. Point number 4 is probably going to be the most important of the 5 points, but we can only move to point number 4 when we've moved through point 1, point 2, and most importantly, point 3, which is psychology. So make sure and stick around. Don't just kind of look at the headings, actually listen to what is being said. Get a sheet of paper or a notepad and some pens. Take some notes, and I promise you this will be very impactful. So first and foremost, the number one thing that I see keeping coaches stuck at a level that is typically below them is weak positioning, okay? They are not positioning themselves in the market the way that they want to. Now, the market is just the collective term for all of the people who potentially could buy your services and all of the people who are looking for those services. Now, in the market, there are many different options, okay? And your positioning is going to be the thing that makes you stand out. It's going to be the thing that gets a potential buyer to trust you and to choose you, because effectively they have to choose you when they have so many options over somebody else. Your positioning is going to be made up of a few key things. One is who. That's how. That should say who. Who you are. Second one is what you do. Third one is for who you do it. And the final point here is how you do it. There's actually a 5th point which you may have heard of from the book Start With Why, and that is why you do it. Now, I ended with why, I didn't start with why, and Simon Sinek wrote a very famous book called Start With Why. The reason I haven't started with why is because if you think about the market that you're in, the coaching space, why you do something doesn't matter if you don't know who you do it for, right? And when you're a coach, a brand like Apple, which is the example that Simon Sinek uses for Start With Why quite famously, a brand like Apple are appealing to everybody. And when you buy an iPhone or a Mac, you're not having to hang out with the sales rep who sold it to you. You're not having to hang out with the founder. You're not having to spend time with those people. In a coaching business, it's very, very different, because if somebody buys your coaching, one of the things that they're actually buying is proximity to you. And so who you are becomes very, very important in a coaching business, much more important than why you do what you do. So who you are, what does that even mean? Well, this is you, the person, and it is really going to be your values, right? Like fundamentally who you are is a reflection of your values and what you value. And I guess an example of this is if I am someone who is in physically good shape, I don't have extra body fat that I don't want, I sleep well, I eat well, that is going to show up in who I am, and that value will be reflected, right? So if you see somebody online and they obviously have made an effort to look after their well-being and their physique, you can quite reliably predict that one of their values is going to be health and fitness. Now, it doesn't mean that people don't get things wrong. It doesn't mean that people don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean that everyone who's in good shape is healthy, but you can pretty confidently assume that if someone has made such an effort and such an investment to be healthy, then health is a value that they hold. Now, you as the coach, you need to be the walking embodiment of the values that you hold dear, and that is what is going to attract people into you. So first and foremost, what do you value? What do you care about? What are your opinions? What are your thoughts? What is your view of the world? Because that is going to inform everything downstream, and it's going to inform everything downstream, and it's also going to inform everything cross-stream, right? So you need to be very clear on what it is that you want, what your core values are, because those values are going to drive what you do, right? And a lot of the time when you get into coaching, you're solving a problem that you've solved for yourself, and you probably solved it for yourself because at some point your values changed and you realized this was a problem I needed to solve. And the problem that you solve typically is going to be something that you have experience with, right? And you probably have a story, an origin story, almost a hero's journey of you overcoming this problem, going through challenges, and that is now the thing that you do, right? It becomes the thing that you do. So for me, who am I? I'm someone who values health, I value connection, I value freedom, I value adventure, I value security. These are my top 5 values, and they all show up both in my business but also in how I live my life. If you went to my social media and you were to consume my content, you would see those values reflected, right? So you would see freedom and adventure reflected all over the place by, travel and extreme sports and having these cool experiences and being able to work from different countries and being able to work on my own schedule. You would see health reflected in that I do a lot of things that are good for my health. I take time out of my day to go to the park and walk my dog. I work out, I eat well, I'm in physically good shape. I have a value of connection with other people, so you'll see that connecting with my clients, working closely with my clients is something that I do. I also connect closely with my girlfriend, of course, and also with my friends, and you'll see a lot of that in my social media. So these values are reflected out in what I do, and then the what I do is also, that's the kind of business I help people build, right? And it's a direct next step from who I am. The what I do comes from who I am. And what I do is not just business coaching, right, which, doesn't separate me from anybody, but it's business coaching that allows you to build a business that is built upon those values, right? So first and foremost, connection. You get to work with clients who you like working with. You get to care deeply. You get to get them great results. You get to do events. You get to have free time to meet up with your family and friends. You get all of these things in the business that help to foster that value of connection. The second value in there is health. So you're building a business that doesn't run you into the ground. You're building a business that doesn't require you to manage a huge team. It doesn't require you to work 60 hours a week. It doesn't require you to sacrifice your health. And quite the opposite. It's a business that allows you to take time out for your health. It allows you to work out every day. It allows you to take a few days off whenever you want to. It allows you to travel and have downtime and all of these things. The third value in there is security. So it's a business that gives you security, right? It allows you to make good money. It allows you to be profitable. There's not very high overheads. It leverages technology and it leverages systems so that you can basically run the business with minimal investment of staff or anything like that. So it's a very secure business. It doesn't cost a lot to run. It's highly profitable. You can run it from anywhere in the world. And it's predictable, it's built upon being a predictable business. So it's secure. And then freedom and adventure, the final 2 values I've kind of touched on again. But all of those values are reflected in what I do. And then who I do it for, right? That is also the next step down from these values. I don't do it for the coach who wants to build a business to have 10 coaches working under them and to have an 8-figure coaching empire. Like, I don't give a shit about that. I want a business that's really impactful, that's enjoyable for me, that makes me a lot of money, that I can invest into other things, that it's not the only thing that I have in my life. I don't need to build a massive 8-figure business. And that's going to be the kind of people that I am doing it for. If you want a business that gives you those values, that gives you free time, that gives you predictable sales and security, that is who I am talking to. And then obviously there's a certain level that I have got to that I feel I can coach people to. So I'm not coaching people to build a 50K per month online business because I haven't done it, but I've taken lots of people to 10, 15, even up to 20K a month. So I know that those are things that I can actually coach on. I've done it myself. I've done it with clients. So typically the person that I do it for is somebody who's under 5K a month, knows they're worth more, knows they want to get to 10K plus. How I do it, again, this is going to be reflected, it's going to be a reflection of the values, and what I do and how I do it are going to be closely interlinked. But, I don't want to do things that, require me to manage a ton of people, for example. I don't want to have a ton of virtual assistants. I don't want to have a ton of setters. I don't want to have a ton of sales reps, right? I don't want all of that complexity and infrastructure. And I really want to lean into technology, and I really want to lean into leverage, and I want to lean into personal brand and being able to deliver value and use my voice and be out there. So if you're someone who never wants to create content, never wants to speak to a camera, never wants to build an automation or a funnel, never wants to have something scalable, I'm not the coach for you. You can probably just go and get a mentor who'll tell you to send 300 DMs a day and do that until your calendar is full, and then you hire somebody else to do it, and you coach all the time and somebody else just fills your coaching calendar, and you can do that. But again, that's not what I do. So how do I do it? And then fundamentally, why do I do it? And it's because of what I value. And my values have evolved over the years. The reason that I've arrived at the 5 core values, I'll write them down because they might be interesting. Obviously, you have your own values. You might not want all of mine, but you might want some of mine. My first one is actually connection. And I had to lose this to realize how valuable it was to me. So I always valued connection, but I was always somebody who had a lot of connection. I was a very popular, I would say popular, or maybe social is a better word. I had a lot of friends, not saying that I was like anything more special than anybody else, but I had a lot of friends. I was socially good. I would be quite popular as a teenager and in my 20s. And then when I got into business, I kind of went on my own path, and I went lone wolf a little bit, and I lost a lot of connection, and I missed it deeply. And I realized that just pursuing money and business for the sake of it without connection didn't mean anything to me. So over time that kind of evolved, and I realized this was my core value. Health, obviously massive value of mine as well, probably a value of yours if you're watching this video. Security, so again, this is one that is kind of a more recent one for me because I have a girlfriend, I have a dog, I'm now in my early 30s, and when I was in my 20s, this didn't make it onto the list at all. But as life has evolved, I have become a lot more security focused, and I want to be able to have a lot more predictability in my life, not only in my business but also my day-to-day life. So I'm doing a lot less kind of crazy traveling. I mean, I say that I did drive across Europe twice in the last 6 months, but typically I'm looking for more security. And then freedom and adventure, these used to be my 1 and 2 values, but they're still there, but they've kind of made their way down the value hierarchy a little bit, and I'm trying to balance all of these things. So these core values are fundamentally the things that shine through in my content, which is who I am, what I do, for who I do it, how I do it, and then why I do it. So all of this stuff has to show up in my content, my offers, how I talk to people, all of this stuff. If you're not clear on this, if you're not clear on the result and the life that you can help somebody achieve, and the result in the life that you want to achieve for yourself, it's very hard to have positioning that stands out, and you're going to just sound like everybody else. And this is, most coaches have never actually thought about this. You actually have to do some self-development work to, figure this stuff out. But when you do, you can build a business that actually makes sense. So let's assume we've got positioning locked in. Positioning is just the first piece of the puzzle because, yeah, it's amazing and people emotionally buy into positioning, but they don't buy into positioning without offers, okay? Emotionally, they might like you as a person. They might like your philosophies, your ideas, your opinions, the way you do things, the values behind what you do. But fundamentally, to actually make sales consistently, you need an offer stack. And an offer stack is really going to come down to a series of offers, right? You're going to have offers for different stages of the journey that people can go through. So, if somebody is a stranger, you may need a offer to take them from stranger to lead, which is interested person, okay? You may need an offer to take a lead to become a customer, which may be something like a small purchase, a strategy call, a small paid course, a small challenge, something like this. Obviously, you'll have your client offer, right, which is your core program. And then once people are clients, there's upsells, which are deeper levels of support of this service. There are cross-sells, which are other products which are similar to what you do, but maybe kind of something separate. You have bolt-ons, which are kind of the same. An upsell would be more service. A bolt-on might be something like an event, okay? And basically you need to create almost like a menu of offers, because the reality is your audience is filled with different people. And typically about 3% of your audience is emotionally ready to sign up at any given time, okay? 3%. Now, this 3% are basically the group who are likely to buy this client offer, okay? That might look like, yeah, there we go, 3%. This 3% are typically going to be the people who will buy that client offer. And if you have a relatively small audience, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, even 4,000 or 5,000, number one, not a lot of people are seeing your stuff. But number two, 3% is not actually that many. And like, I have nearly 4,000 followers on Instagram, but because I started in fitness coaching, only a small portion of those are actually a good fit for what I do. And if I take 3% of the small portion, let's say there's 800 who are a good fit of what I do, well, 1% of 800 would be 8 people, and 3% of 800 would be 24 people, right? So it's not actually a huge amount of people who are ready to sign up. And of course, a lot of those people may have already signed up, right? Or they may have signed up to somebody else, or they may just, not know me or like me or trust me enough. So we also need to have offers at different stages, because the offers that are here, basically, if you imagine this as like, this is where you generate sales, right? On this side, this is where you generate sales. And then down here is where you generate profit. Okay, so it's almost like you've got a factory for sales and a factory for profit, and your client offer is in the middle. Now, most people are just operating with the client offer, right? So all they do is they sell the 12-week program or the 16-week program, and that's it. And they can appeal to 3% of their audience at any given time. And if their audience is, big enough, then they'll get the sales to grow. But for most of them, their audience isn't big enough. And even if it is big enough, they struggle to actually find and reach this 3%. And of course, just because 3% are emotionally ready to go, you still have to actually be able to close them. You still need to be good at sales. You still need to be good at marketing, because typically they've got 20 other options as well. So if you are only focusing on the 3%, it's pretty much impossible to get past this, if I'm honest, unless you're somebody who has a really big audience, you're very well known in your local area or something like that. Typically focusing on 3% and a client offer it's just not going to get you very far. You'll be able to kind of grind by, but that will be it. So basically on the top here, we've got sales, right? So lead offers and customer offers are there to basically generate volume of leads and sales plus leads. Typically, the end goal of generating a lead is to make a sale, and the end goal of making a sale, right? The goal of making a sale is to acquire a customer. Now, people get this wrong. They think that the goal of getting a customer is to get a sale, right? They're like, oh, I got a customer and I got a sale and that's it. It's actually in the reverse. The goal of a sale is to acquire a customer. And you'll see this everywhere, by the way, right? Like, why do people, restaurants, for example, restaurants give out vouchers for free meals. And the reason that they give out a voucher for a free meal is because they want the customer to come into the restaurant and have a good experience. Because if they do, then this customer will become a repeat buyer, okay, or a repeat customer. And so the whole goal of making a sale is to acquire a customer. And then once you've acquired a customer, the goal is to get them to become a repeat buyer or customer. And so this is why we have everything which is down here. And there's also, you can do all sorts of other things here. You can do a paid in full renewal. You can do, I have events there, but mastermind seminars, whatever. Like, there's so many different ways that you can increase the LTV, right? Because LTV equals repeat buyers, right? The lifetime value, how much somebody actually spends with you over time, is going to be based on them repeat buying. It's like if you've got a restaurant in a city and you get everyone in the city to come once but they never come back, the restaurant will go out of business eventually, because you need repeat buyers, repeat custom to keep the restaurant open. And it's the same with, pretty much anything that we're doing here. So above the line, we have offers that generate volume of leads and sales, and below the line, we have offers that are optimized for profit. So typically, these are bigger offers and these are smaller offers, right? So a lead offer would be something free that you give out to your social media that's in alignment with your client offer. It might be one of the first steps in the client offer or a small tool from the client offer. The customer offer, again, might be a small version of almost like a taster of what's in the client offer. So let's say the lead is a free offer, we'll just put F for free. The customer offer might be, let's say, €47, for a one-time call, like a consultation style thing. The client offer might be 1K, the upsells might be 2K. There might be a cross sell of 1K. There might be an event for 500. There might be a paid in full for the next year for 3K. Okay, so like this is where the profit in the business is made. And if you, on this end, if you can generate more leads and more customers, you have more opportunities to create clients. And then the more clients you create, the more profit you can make on the back end. So you've effectively got this offer stack. And the trick is, each of these offers, you have to get offers that convert at every stage, right? You need to get offers that generate leads that work. You need to have offers that generate customers that work. And work is not only sell, right? It's not about making the sale, it's about acquiring the customer, right? And making them a repeat buyer. So in order for any of these offers to work, they have to lead to the next stage. So a lead offer that gets lots of leads but doesn't lead anyone further down the offer stack doesn't actually work. But a lead offer that gets 2 leads and 2 of them become customers, that's a really good high-performing offer. If you did a customer offer and you got 4 customers and then 2 or 3 of those customers became a client, that would be a very powerful customer offer, and you could say that offer was working, versus you could have a customer offer that got 7 customers but 0 clients, and so the one that got the fewer number of customers but generated more clients overall is the more powerful offer. So you need that offer stack. And again, most coaches are operating with 3% and they're leaving the 97% totally out of the equation. Now, out of that 97% as well, a good 40 or 50% will never buy, but there is a good 40 odd percent there who will buy from you if you can put the right offer in front of them. And, funnily enough, some people who don't want to become a client, are not interested in the customer offer or the lead offer, might still buy something like a mastermind, like a high ticket event, okay? So this is why it's really, really important to basically cater to people at different stages. So point number 3, and then we're going to flip the board and turn this into a sales process, because this is so important. Now, I don't know how many years ago, you can Google it, but Eugene Schwartz was one of the greatest marketers of all time. He's legendary in marketing. And I think it was in his book, Breakthrough Advertising, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it was Breakthrough Advertising. You can go and buy that book and check it out, because it's definitely worth reading. But Eugene came up with the levels of awareness in prospects, okay? So breakthrough advertising. So basically there's 5 stages of awareness. Now, when we're talking to our clients or our potential clients, we need to understand the psychology of what is going on in their head so we say the right thing at the right stage. And if we are aware of this psychology, then we can make our content and our offers and our videos and everything else that we create fall nicely into place to actually support the journey that this person is going on. So you basically got 5 levels of awareness, okay, when it comes to marketing. And the levels of awareness are: how aware are your audience of your product and service? And we've got the first one, which is unaware. Obviously, they're not aware. They don't know anything. The second level is pain aware, and we'll kind of break this down in a second. The third level is problem aware. The fourth level is solution aware. And the 5th level is product or your service aware, okay? So basically, I've lost the cap on my marker, it's not important. Basically, we've got these 5 levels of awareness. Now, imagine that you are a fitness coach and you are creating content and you're talking about the importance of meal timing, right? And why meal timing is causing fatigue. Improper meal timing is causing fatigue, energy crashes, cravings in people who are struggling with fat loss. Now, people need to be pretty far down this level of awareness process to actually understand what you mean, right? And a lot of people are just unaware, right? They're unaware that they even have a problem. They're unaware of the pain that they're in. They're unaware of the fact that things are going very, very badly. So if we were creating content for somebody at the unaware stage, we might be educating them on the terrifying consequences of not looking after your health and fitness. Okay, so this might be somebody who is just basically oblivious. They're going through life, they're smoking cigarettes, they're drinking, they're eating shite food, and basically they're completely unaware of the damage that they're doing to themselves, right? Now, if you're speaking to these people, content that would work quite here is like educational content that explains the consequences of their actions, okay? Because right now, these people are unaware, they're oblivious. Now, imagine this person watches a video that you put together talking about the long-term impact of the lifestyle that they're currently leading. This is going to move them into a pain where they're pain aware. They're like, oh, holy shit, actually, now I'm worried, I'm anxious, I'm stressed about the long-term consequences of the lifestyle that I'm leading. So they become pain aware, right? And they're aware of the pain of the nasty future that's ahead of them, basically. Nasty future, let's say, damage they are doing, right? So now all of a sudden, they're aware of the damage that they're doing, and they've become pain aware. They're now actually feeling the pain, right? Now, they weren't, maybe they were just ignoring the pain. Maybe they knew it was there before a little bit, but this piece of content has now moved them to pain aware. And once they're pain aware, they're aware that they have a pain. They're now trying to find out what is causing the pain, right? They don't know what's causing the pain. So the next step here is the problem, okay? Problem aware. They don't know what's causing the pain. So the next level of content is understanding or helping them to understand what causes their pain and their current situation, okay? So what is causing it? And, this might be ingrained habits. It might be emotional eating. It might be poor quality sleep. Maybe the problem is poor quality sleep, and that's why they're actually doing all of these behaviors. They're just struggling their way through the day, eating shit food, drinking because they feel terrible all of the time, right? It might be habits. It's probably a combination of both. But effectively, when people move to problem aware, they now understand that, the problem here is actually my lifestyle. It's not the training split. It's not the workout I'm doing. It is my lifestyle. That is the big problem that they must solve. So as soon as they're aware that they must solve this problem of lifestyle, they now are looking for a solution which incorporates lifestyle, right? So they're now looking for lifestyle coaching. Okay, they're now aware of the fact that somebody can help me with the lifestyle. I'm looking for a lifestyle coach. I'm not looking for a bodybuilding coach. I'm not looking for an athlete coach. I'm not looking for a vegan coach. I'm not looking for a carnivore coach. I just want someone who can tidy up my lifestyle so that I can solve this problem of poor habits, causing all of this pain, of being concerned and anxious for the future and where I'm going to end up. And then finally, they become product aware, okay? And product aware is when they're aware of your product or service, okay? So they just know that, maybe there is 3 options at this point, right? And you are one of them. So let's say they are looking for lifestyle coaching. Now they're aware that, okay, look, I've looked into lifestyle coaching. I've done some research and I can see that there's 3 different coaches offering lifestyle coaching. So why does this matter? Well, basically, there's a problem with social media content, right? In that if we try and educate everyone through this journey, it's very hard, right? Because, you know, a new follower comes in, somebody suddenly starts engaging. Like, some of them could be product aware, some of them could be solution aware, some can be problem, pain, unaware. We don't know where everyone is. And it's very hard to kind of like educate people on each level in a step-by-step process, because, you know, let's say that you take people through this journey every month, right, where you start with content for unaware people and then you move to pain aware and problem aware and solution aware and product aware. So you're basically educating them on the consequences of their actions. Then when they're aware of that, you're explaining you know, the pain and what's actually causing the pain. You're telling them what problem needs to be solved. You're telling them about the type of solution, which is lifestyle coaching, and then you're telling them about your service and how it works. Problem with doing that in social media is that you've lots of people coming in, right? And people read one post and then they miss the next three, and then it's very hard to get somebody to kind of understand. And it feels like it's a little bit of a lost cause trying to actually bring people through this journey. So if you're still, you know, looking at this and thinking, okay, I'm a little bit lost, I'm going to show you how to make all of this just happen automatically in your sales process. And that's point number 4. And if you get this locked in, it becomes so much easier to sell people into your coaching program, because you can take the psychology and you can put it into a process. So let's say the very first step of your sales process is content, okay? And by the way, if you can understand all of these things, you'll go to 10K a month in no time. Let's say the very first stage of your sales process is content, right? And your content might be for unaware and pain aware people, okay? So basically, your content is going to speak about pains, consequences, what is not working for them right now, why it is a problem, and it's going to basically get their attention, right? Because if you speak to somebody about a pain that they're feeling, that's going to get their attention. Let's say I speak to you and I say, hey, are you sick of having zeros in your Stripe account? Are you sick of chasing clients every single month? Do you want to change that? That is very pain-orientated language. You're like, fuck, yeah, I am sick of chasing clients. I just want predictable clients. I want this to feel easy. I want to have the Stripe account pinging, right? That's very pain aware. The next step is to actually take that attention that we've got from talking about a pain and to move it to the next step, right? Which is to take somebody from pain aware to problem aware. Now, this is what your kind of sales process needs to do. So typically coaches just post content and then they just hope people sign up, right? And no wonder it doesn't work, because that's not marketing, it's not sales, it's just hitting and hoping, right? It's just hoping for the best. Typically, the best thing to do is to take somebody from pain aware or unaware, right? Using free content, you take them from unaware to pain aware. You get them to feel the pain and to understand that this is something that they need to solve. And then you offer them to show them the problem, okay? So the next step from content is you show them the problem. Now, this could be a video. It could be an ebook. It could be a course. It could be a strategy call. And this is basically, by the way, this is like your free content. This stage here is where your lead and customer offers live, okay? So this is basically the lead and the customer offers from the offer stack. They live here, right? Lead offers and lead plus customer offers are typically diagnostic, okay? So they're diagnosing the problem, and not only are they helping somebody to get a solution, but they're diagnosing the big problem, and they're basically opening the door for somebody to work longer term with you. So once we've gone from unaware, pain aware to problem aware, showing them the problem with a video, an ebook, a course, a strategy call, or any kind of mechanism which basically takes them through that journey so they're more aware, at this point they're actually aware of like the kind of solution that they need, right? So they know, for example, that they need a solution that factors in lifestyle. And again, it comes back to your positioning, but if you are the lifestyle guy, they now know that they need a coach like you. So let's say you're positioning, back in the very first point, you're positioned as the lifestyle guy. You want to be fit, you want to be in shape, but part of your values is that you're not forgoing your lifestyle. You want to be able to go out and have beers on the weekend. You want to be able to go out and have pizza. You want to be able to go on holidays. You want to be able to go and do other sports. You don't want to just live in the gym and live the bodybuilder lifestyle. If you are positioned as the lifestyle person, and if your sales process has basically taken people from free content to some sort of a resource which takes them through the process of becoming problem aware, at this point, they now know that they need a lifestyle-based solution because they want the result that you have. Doesn't mean that you're the only person, but it means that they're now in the market for a specific type of coaching, being lifestyle in this case. And finally, they're going to be aware of, right, I need lifestyle coaching, so what are they going to do? They're going to pull their laptop up and they're basically going to start searching for options. And your process here is diagnostic, but it's also telling them about the solution that they need, right? So this process is diagnosing, it's recommending, I don't know how to spell recommending solutions, and it's offering your product, right? So like this step in the sales process, which might be a video, it might be an ebook, it might be a course, it might be a strategy call, is diagnosing, but it's also recommending solutions and offering a product, and that's taking them to solution and product aware. Now they may make themselves solution and product aware because after they've watched your video, they understand the solution that they need, and then maybe, they start Googling and they become product aware because they Google or they Instagram and they find, well, like, okay, there's only 3 suppliers of lifestyle-based coaching that fit my criteria. Okay, so basically once you understand the psychology of how people move, then you can start to actually put the right level of explanation at the different points, right? So typically your free content is going to be quite broad, and it's going to speak to unaware people, it's going to speak to pain aware people, and then you're going to drive the people who are pain aware and who really want to solve this pain, you're going to drive them to some sort of an asset or some sort of an experience that actually then takes them through the rest of that journey so that they can go to problem aware with a diagnosis. And if you think about this, when you go, very, very easy to kind of conceptualize, but this happens all the time. Let's say you wake up and you've got pain in your stomach, right? Let's say you wake up and you've developed an issue in your stomach, but there's no pain yet, right? You may have an issue in your stomach for a week with no pain and you are unaware, okay? Now, when you're unaware, you're not gonna go and buy anything, right? Like, if I've got an issue in my stomach, but I'm not aware of it because it hasn't started to hurt me yet, but it's developing in my stomach, I'm not going to go and buy anything because I'm unaware. I don't even know it exists, right? And even if I did know that, I think something is moving in my stomach, but if it's not painful, I'm probably not too concerned. It's probably a bit of, it's a bit of wind, or I'm not feeling my best or whatever, right? But we're not buying anything if we're unaware. Now, imagine after a week, I start to feel a pain in my stomach, okay? And I become pain aware. Now, I don't know what the solution is, right? I don't know what the solution is, but I need to find out what the problem is before I can't get a solution without a problem, right? So I'm in pain, but I need to find out what's causing the pain before I can get a solution. I can't just, head down to the gastrointestinal specialist in my local hospital and be like, hey, I have this problem and I need a solution, because I don't know what the problem is, right? So when I'm pain aware, I really have no choice but to go and become problem aware, right? I have to go to the doctors, and the doctor is basically going to do what? he is going to give me a diagnosis, right? He's going to explain, hey Owen, I've done this, diagnostic process, and it looks like you've got an issue in your GI tract, okay? And you're going to need to find a gastrointestinal specialist, because it's not something that we do in the GPs. You're going to have to actually go to a specialist for this. And then he says, I can offer you 3 contacts who could be good fits, okay? So at this point, I know, okay, GI issue. I need GI specialist. And he will say, here's 3 contacts. And now I am product aware, because I have 3 contacts of 3 different doctors and I have 3 to choose from. So we all go through this journey, right? Unaware, don't care. Pain aware, I need to find out what the problem is. Problem aware, I need to find a solution. Solution aware, okay, I need somebody who can actually give me the solution, right? GI issue, I need a GI specialist. Here are the 3 recommended GI specialists. So when it comes to your sales and your marketing, you need to be able to basically bring people down this journey where, let's say you're a personal brand guy. Okay, they're unaware that they need to be building a personal brand. So your top of funnel organic content explains to them and makes them aware that they need to be building a personal brand. And it introduces the pain, because if you don't have a personal brand, then you're going to be left behind in the next 2 years, because the only thing that separates you and the generic content that is out there online is you showing up and actually building a personal brand. Now people are pain aware because they're anxious and worried about the future. The next step is to get a diagnosis. So they come to me and they say, hey Owen, I'm worried about the future. I've heard that I need to build a personal brand. I've heard that I need sales. I've heard that I need marketing, but I don't know what to do. What is the problem? And then I can give them a diagnosis of what they need to fix, and I can recommend solutions, and I can recommend specific providers of those solutions as well. So we need to be aware of the marketing, and then we need to turn, or the psychology of the marketing, and then we need to turn the psychology of the marketing into a process. Now, hopefully, I haven't lost you. I haven't actually explained this before in a public setting, and it's a little bit more challenging to do without an over and back. Usually I explain this when I'm talking to clients and we're talking over and back and they can ask me questions. So if I've left anything unclear, please drop it in the comments, and I will, of course, get back to you and hopefully make it clear and clarify it. Finally, systems. Systems. We need systems, because in order to consistently hit big numbers in your business, we need predictability. And the least predictable thing in your business is you. Congratulations, you are the least predictable thing in your business. You get sick, you get pissed off, you get emotional, you have family problems, you have problems with your kids, you have days where you question everything. You have a big win and then you self-sabotage because you don't actually feel ready for the next level of success. You are unreliable and unpredictable as fuck. Me too. Congratulations. We're all human. So, if we are relying on you time and time again, it's just not a very good strategy, And the thing that I've noticed from all of my clients who have not only broken 10K a month, but have stayed consistently above 10K a month for months and months and months, like 6, 12 months without ever dipping below it, is they have systems, right? And the systems really, it depends person to person, but once all of this is working, once their sales process is working, they've got systems. They've got systems for traffic, right? Or eyeballs, and this will really depend on who you are. One of my clients is getting all of the traffic and eyeballs through organic Facebook content, believe it or not, right? Organic Facebook, and you thought Facebook was dead. She's doing 10, 11 grand a month, and most of her traffic is coming from organic Facebook, but she has it locked in. She has a system. She knows how it works. She knows how much she posts. Another client is getting his traffic from paid ads, okay? small ad budget, but it runs without him when he's not working because he's a guy who's got multiple other businesses. Another client is getting them through a assistant who he has hired. Now, I personally I don't love assistants myself, but he wanted to hire somebody, and he's hired somebody, and he has systemized all of this stuff, right? So what you systemize is not actually that important, but you need to systemize traffic. So you need to have a systemized way to get more people discovering you all the time. At a really baseline level, if you don't have a budget for ads or an assistant, or if your organic traffic isn't working, you just need a daily system for actually doing the work, doing the connections, doing the outreach, whatever it is to get traffic. You need leads as well, right? So you need a system that generates leads consistently. Again, what is the process that you're running? I actually did a separate video on the sales cycle that you should use to generate leads, customers and clients. If you go to my homepage and you go to the linked videos on my homepage, you'll see it there. But basically you need a system to run each month to generate leads, customers, clients, and profit offers as well. So if you don't have a system for this stuff, it's easy to do it once, but it's not easy to continuously do it. You need tracking systems, right? You need systems for tracking what's working and what's not, because again, if things are not systemized, if you're just randomly doing things and you're relying on your ability to remember things and stay on top of them, they won't get done, or they won't get done as effectively as they could be done. Obviously, AI tools to speed things up, very, very important to learn some basic AI now. Claude, schedule tasks. I might actually do a separate video on Claude, but basically Claude Cowork, where you can get tasks and stuff done there as well. There's all sorts of systems that you should be using, basic landing pages, basic email automations, all of this kind of stuff to make sure that you are not the only force that's operating in your business, because if you are, it's going to be very, very hard to get past 5K, and definitely very, very hard to stay there if it's all coming down to manual effort.